The Central Intelligence Agency provides the United States with a wide range of top-secret information from around the world. In the first of a three-part series, CNN's Gene Randall looks at how the CIA's power has grown during the Reagan administration.
CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, outside Washington. Home base for an estimated 18,000 employees. The agency's yearly budget thought to top $1.5 billion. The CIA's primary job, the routine collection and analysis of foreign intelligence for the nation's policymakers. Not exactly the stuff of spy novels. It even prints maps available to the general public. But in 1980, presidential candidate Ronald Reagan campaigned on a pledge to improve the CIA's ability to conduct covert operations. Administration critic Morton Halperin says the result is an agency that has been unleashed.
What the CIA has been unleashed to do is to go about the world looking for places where secret American intervention in support of groups trying to overthrow governments or in other ways to disrupt governments is possibly a useful thing to do, to bring those proposals to the president, who in turn has in a number of occasions authorized them to do that.
The United States is supporting 10 to 15,000 contras in Central America, armed bands intent on overthrowing the Marxist Sandinista regime of Nicaragua, support which has included the mining of 3 Nicaraguan harbors. With Reagan's longtime friend William Casey in charge, the CIA has resurrected the image of a rogue elephant running wild. One-time CIA Deputy Director Ray Klein says the image is not based on fact.
I think there was not in the 70s, and there is not now, any trace of the rogue elephant. I think covert operations are completely in control.
The history of CIA covert operations goes as far back as the history of the agency itself. Established by President Harry Truman in 1947, the CIA was a successor to the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS of World War II. An early success, the CIA's influence on the 1948 Italian elections, when the Communist Party was defeated. By the early 50s, under the Eisenhower administration, covert action was in its heyday. The CIA was involved in toppling established governments. In 1953, the agency engineered the restoration of the Shah of Iran to the peacock throne. The next year, the leftist regime of Guatemala was overthrown. Former CIA Director William Colby.
The wiser covert actions, and we've had a lot of them, are long-term in nature. The ones that have not been so wise have been attempts at a quick answer. The quick fix of the Bay of Pigs was a quick fix answer, and it failed.
The CIA is just one element of the nation's intelligence community. Information collection and analysis is also performed by the Defense Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, all 4 services, the Treasury Department, the Department of Energy, and the State Department. The director of the CIA is, however, the primary advisor to the President and the National Security Council on national intelligence matters, and the CIA is the only one mandated to perform covert activity. And as in Chile in the early 70s, when the agency attempted to undo the government of Salvador Allende, in Nicaragua today, it is the covert action that causes the CIA most of its problems.
Already reviewed.
In 1975, the late Frank Church led a Senate investigation into CIA abuses of power, including illegal surveillance in the United States. The committee recommended that covert operations should never be routine, that the CIA should use them only in extraordinary circumstances. 2 congressional oversight committees were set up. What is missing from this report, and those that will follow, is an interview with CIA Director William Casey. A spokesman told us he would not be available, that Casey never grants radio or television interviews. In our next report, we'll examine the issue of how covert actions by the CIA can be reconciled with the norms of a democratic society. Gene Randall, CNN, outside CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia.
Jesse Jackson's taking his Rainbow Coalition south of the border. Jackson says his Mexican trip will focus on the fighting in Central America and the third world debt crisis. He leaves for Mexico tomorrow and plans to meet with Mexican foreign ministers during the one-day trip. Walter Mondale is hoping to land the 306 delegates up for grabs at the June 5th primary in California. Mondale's only about 300 delegates shy of the total needed for nomination at the Democratic Convention in July. He portrayed himself as a friend of environmentalists yesterday as he spoke at a seaside rally. Senator Gary Hart attacked President Reagan's economic policies during his California campaign and blamed high interest rates and the federal deficit. Hart accused the president of supporting a breed of new protectionists who he says are creating havoc in the economy. Hart says the economy will die as those groups multiply. President Reagan is pointing to surging home and auto sales as evidence that, in his words, America is moving forward with impressive power. In his paid radio address yesterday, he blamed the rise in interest rates on pessimists who fear inflation may soon rage out of control. Mr. Reagan says he'll prove them wrong and won't be buffaloed into a foreign policy change. The president visits Ireland next weekend, and his trip is prompting protests led by Catholic nuns. Richard Vaughn reports from Dublin. The nuns are upset over U.S. policy in Central America.
President Reagan could be made to feel a trifle uncomfortable in his ancestral homeland. A group of Dublin nuns led this protest. They carried a coffin inscribed with the names of American nuns killed in El Salvador. Although only 1,000 people marched here, 20,000 more put their names to a petition opposed to the president's policies in Central America. The increasing involvement of the United States in Nicaragua and El Salvador is a focus for anti-Reagan feeling in Ireland. The IRA and anti-nuclear groups are leading moves to stop Reagan feeling at home. The day before this demonstration, they tried but failed to get a court order to prevent his visit. It was claimed the presidential briefcase would turn the whole country into a nuclear target, as it contains details of America's nuclear arms system. The court decided this was a problem for the Irish government, but the government are more likely to be worried by the reception many Irish have in store for Mr. Reagan.
More news after this. It's 19 minutes past the hour. Time to check the latest sports news.
This is Tom Steiner, CNN Sports. The gentlemen will start their engines at noon Eastern Time Sunday for the 68th Indianapolis 500. Favored Tom Sneva, who took the checkered flag last year, draws the advantageous pole position. This year's Indy is expected to be the fastest ever since each of the 33 cars qualified at over 200 miles per hour. Sneva, who had the top qualifying speed of over 210 miles per hour, feels the speeds are getting too fast.
We don't need to be going this fast to put on a good show for the people. It's just that simple. People can't tell when you go by if you run 190 or 210. They couldn't tell the difference between 170 and 210. So what they want is close wheel-to-wheel racing. We've got to give them that, and 210 miles an hour is not necessary.
To baseball action in the National League, fireballing Nolan Ryan won his 5th straight decision in pitching a 5-hit 2-0 shutout over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Philadelphia blasted the Padres 7-2. Sixto Lezcano smashed his 6th homer this season, a 3-run shot to key the win. Bob Horner went 2 for 3 and drove in 3 runs to lead the Atlanta Braves to a 7-3 rain-delayed win over the St. Louis Cards. Hubie Brooks extended his hitting streak to 20 games with his 5th home run of the season as the New York Mets nipped the Los Angeles Dodgers 2-1. In other games, Cincinnati nipped the Chicago Cubs 7-6 and the Expos down the Giants 4-2. In the American League, the White Sox snapped a 3-game losing streak. Richard Dotson upped his record to 7-2 as he struck out 10 in beating the Texas Rangers 5-1. Ray Fontenot pitched 8 strong innings to earn his first win of the season as the struggling New York Yankees walloped the Oakland A's 8-4. Rick Dempsey and John Lowenstein each cracked 2-run homers to propel the Baltimore Orioles to a 9-5 rout over the California Angels. In other games, the Blue Jays edged the Cleveland Indians 2-1. The Twins nipped the Brewers 7-6. George Brett had 6 RBIs in leading the Royals to an 11-7 blowout over Boston. And for only the 2nd time this season, Detroit dropped 2 straight games. The Mariners handed the Tigers a 9-4 loss. Bob Kearney rounded out the Seattle scoring with a 2-run homer. In the United States Football League, just 2 games. Oakland defeated the Oklahoma Outlaws 17-14, and the Express rolled to a 24-17 decision over Arizona. Tom Steiner, CNN Sports.
A Zurich engineering crew had the task yesterday of tearing down a 20-year-old smokestack. The plan was to use explosives, but the chimney was made of concrete and not bricks. That left the crew uncertain about how it would fall. Unfortunately, it crashed into a factory, causing $500,000 in damage. Now, recapping the hour's top stories, here are the CNN headlines.
The Iraqi envoy in Washington says Moscow is to supply Iraq with weapons capable of destroying the Iranian oil port of Karg Island. About 13 million Egyptians vote for a new 448-member parliament today, with a pledge from President Hosni Mubarak that the elections will be free. An estimated 2,000 demonstrators, led by a group of Roman Catholic nuns, marched through Dublin Saturday to show their displeasure over the June 1st through 4th visit by President Reagan. Marchers were protesting nuclear weapons and U.S. policies in Central America. A 6th tripwire shrapnel bomb intended to inflict harm to people was found Saturday in Lacrosse, Wisconsin. Police warned parents to watch their children closely over the holiday weekend. Mount St. Helens volcano erupted Saturday, sending a column of ash 12,000 feet into the air. No one was hurt. With the hour's top stories, I'm Wally Kaiser.
The moon will wear a diamond necklace this Wednesday. A partial eclipse of the sun will occur, and scientists say the effect looks much like a crown of jewels in the sky. Every state but Alaska should see a fair piece of the spectacle, but don't look too closely, as the light can cause severe damage to the eyes. Stay tuned. The news continues. The summer season is travel season, and for those who travel to a foreign country, a passport will be at the top of the shopping list. CNN's Rochelle reports the passport may see some changes in years to come.
One of the hottest items in the U.S. today, a passport. These people in New York are all lined up outside the passport office, vying for the opportunity to pay up to $42 each for a blue folder with their picture inside that gives them the right to travel outside the United States. 150,000 passports were issued last week, the busiest week since the government issued its first one back in 1796. The government expects to issue 4.5 million passports before the year is out. One reason for the sharp increase in the number of passports is population growth. But that's not all.
With the strength of the U.S. dollar abroad these days, many people find it's a bargain to travel, and so they just get a passport and go.
There is one other innovation that's just coming into practice. Computer codes, so the passport can be read with an electronic or light reading device. The office says about 50% of passports in use today have the new code, and Blevins predicts that things will change even more in the future.
We're looking toward the time the book as we now know it will no longer exist. It'll probably just be a card, because once we have a computerized system, and other countries have a computerized system, and visas then you'll be able to get a visa without the stamp being put in the book. It can just be put in a computerized information, and then that's the travel document of the future, as merely a card.
Part of the problem with modernizing the system is getting card readers installed at all ports of entry. The only ones currently operating are in London and in Chicago, both on an experimental basis. But efforts have been underway for the past several years to get other countries to code their passports and to install readers. If that ever happens, perhaps Blevins' prediction of a passport card will come true. Rochelle, CNN, Washington.
Well, Memorial Day weather outlook is rainy for a large part of the country. Showers will dampen the Gulf Coast, the Appalachians, and the Great Lakes areas in the east. Showers will also be scattered over the northern Rockies and High Plains. The Pacific Coast states, southern Rocky Mountains, and New England will be sunny. High temperatures in the northern tier of states will be cool, with 50s, summer 80s and 90s will cover much of the country, with 110-degree readings predicted in the deserts. Bunches of beauties are striving to be top banana at a contest in Atlanta. CNN's Catherine Steele says the new Miss Chiquita banana must have more than appeal.
It's something long, and it's yellow, and it's slippery.
Delicious. Slimy. Messy.
The banana. Big in brown bag lunches, a favorite fruit for millions of Americans, the subject of song.
Hello, amigo. I'm Chiquita Banana.
Remember the Miss Chiquita commercials? Well, a nationwide contest may bring her successor back to the television screen in a matter of months. To the sound of samba, local judges in Atlanta met poolside at a hotel. The plan? To pick just one woman from a bunch of banana fans. The winners to be the beauty with the best banana hat. Banana humor, in response to a judge's questioning, also counts. The new Miss Chiquita will be a banana ambassador, carrying a corporate message.
So Miss Chiquita is now going to be a vibrant young lady who bounces around and does a lot of exercises and eats Chiquitas, and we're looking forward to it. We're excited about it.
Banana finalists from 9 U.S. cities in Canada will meet in the Big Apple next month. Already, though, some contestants are confident they represent what's best about bananas.
I think I represent them well. I have a zoftic body, and I'm a little exotic, kind of like exotic.
Catherine Steele, CNN, Atlanta.
That's our report. We thank you for joining us. I'm Bob Scott. Around the world every half hour, this is CNN Headline News.